Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. Our talk is Planning for Two Lifetimes, Creating Financial Confidence for Families with Special Needs. Our talk tonight is from Michael Ringel from Strategies from Wealth, and this is a Cope Center for Autism webinar. Um, Hi, everyone. I'm Laura McKenna. I am the Director of Parent Education and Outreach for the Cope Center for Autism. The mission of the Cope Center of Autism is to be a champion for children with autism by providing prompt medical evaluations, equipping families with knowledge and resources, and fostering an inclusive and accepting community. We envision a future where all children with autism have access to comprehensive and individual supports that empowers them to thrive as their true selves. Our talk tonight centers around concerns that every special need parent has from time to time. It's, and just to start off, I am a special ed mom too. I am the parent of a child with autism. A child, he's 23 now. But
Mhm.
still, I worry, will my child be okay when I'm gone? This is a worry that all of us have because, the world is complicated. And is there going to be enough resources to take care of our child when we're no longer here? We all worry about it. So one thing that I've learned as a parent is that good financial planning reduces our worries. It is the key to getting a good night's rest because there are great options for our kids. And with a combination of our own investments, along with government benefits, I know my son is going to be okay. And thanks to Mike, I've gotten learned a lot of ways to help protect him and us in the future. So tonight, our talk is planning for two lifetimes, and we're going to learn more from an expert about the ways that we can protect our children and our families. Michael Ringel is CPA. He's a seasoned financial professional who has dedicated over 2 decades to empowering individuals and families, especially those caring for loved ones with disabilities, with a thoughtful, value-driven financial strategies. He's a chartered special needs consultant, and he's deeply committed to helping families of individuals with special needs plan for their future with clarity, confidence, and compassion. Michael brings academic rigor and practice expertise to his client relationships. His client first philosophy focuses on uncovering each family's personal and financial values before offering tailored strategies. Since 2004, he's worked closely with parents of children with disabilities, guiding them through the complex topics like special needs trusts, ABLE accounts, and long term financial security. Ringel is a frequent speaker on special needs financial planning, presenting annually at New Jersey Autism Conference, the New Jersey State Society of CPAs, and at the Autism Society. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Michael, and he is going to, teach us things. So I look forward to
Awesome.
learning from you, Michael.
Well, thank you for that wonderful introduction. I mean, I couldn't have written it better myself. In fact, I think I need to get a copy of that because I couldn't write it better myself. Um, can you see my screen? It says planning for two lifetimes.
Not yet.
No? Let's
Oh, there
see.
we go.
Actually, I can see it. Yeah.
Uh-oh. Okay, good.
Now
All
it's
right.
working.
Well, first of all, thank you, Laura. Thank you for the Cope Center for inviting Ian and I to share with everybody who is taking the time out of their busy schedule to join us. It's not lost on us how hectic your guys' lives are, how we understand that, you'd rather probably be spending time with your families, but learning all about the ability or the possibility to create confidence for you and your family is really important. Laura, I think you hit the nail on the head. Probably the number one concern when we talk to families people have is my child going to be okay? That's it. And from a financial point of view, from what is life going to look like when they're not here, and we're going to talk about all these things. And I've got Ian who's supporting us. He's going to be answering questions in the chat. Really want this to be a give and take, so please feel free to chime in. Ian will stop me from time to time to bring up specific topics and to chime in and talk. But this conversation is all about you, right? So maybe before we begin, if we fast forward 45 minutes and it's 7:45 and you're looking at the clock and you know you say to yourself, you know what? That was a really good investment of my time. What would have to happen? What would you need to learn? What would you like to discover between now and 7:45 that you go to Lori, you know what? It was really great that we invited those guys here. We should invite them back because there's other stuff we want to learn. Maybe you could just take a second and type it into the chat. Let's start with questions first, and then we'll see where they are in the presentation. We like to turn presentations on their head as opposed to letting us speak and then you ask questions. Maybe just throw some questions in there and let's see, what works for you guys. So, Ian, I can't monitor it. So, anything come up yet, or what would you guys like to
No,
learn?
yeah.
If not, I'll just start.
Where does one start?
Okay,
The
well,
first question.
that's a great question. One starts right here, right? The fact that you took time out of your night to join us, and it's not lost on us that it could feel overwhelming by all the things that we're going to talk about today. But the best time to plant an oak tree was 25 years ago. The second best day is today. So we're going to give you some tips. We're going to share some great information. We're going to give away a bunch of stuff, some resources for you. So you're in the perfect place for that.
When do we start with the special needs account?
Yeah, we're going to talk about special needs planning and the different type of financial tools, right, that are available for you to use. And just like we believe any financial product, they're just tools, right? Whether it's investments, 401ks, life insurance, first party trusts, third party special needs trust, able accounts, whatever it may be, these are just tools that are going to get you to the objective that you're looking to get. And everybody's objective is different, but the underlying objective of most of the families we work with is they not only want to know that when they're not here, their child or children are going to be okay, and planning for their retirement. We'll talk about that in a few minutes as well.
You want to take a couple more?
Yeah, let's take a
Uh,
couple more and then we'll continue. We'll get
Jennifer asks, custody when parents pass away.
Yeah, that's a big thing. I mean, we got to start talking about that now, right? So there's the financial aspect, and then there's the guardianship aspect, right? Who's going to physically take care of my child? Where are they going to be living? Who's going to pay for it? How can I leave the most money possible, the biggest legacy possible, and be able to enjoy my life or your life without compromise?
Right.
Yeah,
David asks, topics I'm interested in include or in levels of guardianship and trust.
yeah, we'll talk about some of that as well.
Uh,
Not a lawyer. Ian's not a lawyer. We're not going to really go in depth into the different levels of guardianship, but we are going to do a high level overview of that and the different types of special needs trusts and how they might apply for you.
Jennifer's asking about 529 accounts.
Yep. We'll definitely talk about 529 accounts, what to do with them if their child is not going to go to college, the tax implications of using the money, and what some of the strategies you can use in order to get the money out of your child's name to help them qualify for those benefits.
Alisa is asking, what is the best way to make sure our family home will be hers and money for her to keep living there?
Yeah, that's a great question. Housing is a huge issue, right? So whether your child lives in a supported home or a group home or with other people, or they're going to live in the house you currently have. How do you leave the house properly? Great question on estate planning.
Andrew says, we keep hearing that cat have assets. We keep hearing that cat have assets to get government benefits, but I was taught to plan early. How do we build their nest egg?
Yeah. All
Oh,
right.
so I guess the child not to have assets.
Yeah. Great
Talk
questions.
about that.
We're going to talk about financial planning and we're going to start there as well. So let's go into it. Thank you for all those questions because I want to make sure that we cover them all, but at least I now know like what's really most important for you. To start off, here's some disclosures. But welcome. Ian and I run a company that we founded called Special Needs Wealth Planning, and we focus on planning for two lifetimes, yours and your child's. It's really important for the families that we work with to understand that while planning for your child's lifetime is important, it's really also important to plan for your lifetime. Most of the families that we work with are going to support their child or children while they're still alive. It's what happens when they're not here when it comes to them personally and financially. Our mission is to help families create strategies that endure lifelong care, independence, and financial stability for their loved ones while also protecting their own retirement and legacy. You can have your cake and eat it too. You don't have to sacrifice your retirement and your retirement income in order to have a sturdy and solid plan for your child or children. So, what keeps you up at night? What keeps some of the other families that we talk about up at night? It's common to feel overwhelmed by the complexity of programs. There are so many different things to think about, hear different terms, that a lot of times families come to us and they're so overwhelmed with all the different terms that they hear when they talk to other families. Many parents are worried about what's going to happen to their child when they're no longer available to provide care. Questions about who will take over the day-to-day care and the financial responsibility can be a source of stress. That's why we need to start talking about that now so that when that does happen, that there is a solid plan in place and it reduces a tremendous amount of anxiety for the caregiver. Many parents find it challenging to balance savings for their own retirement while planning for lifetime care of their loved one with special needs. A lot of times families are fearful of making that one mistake that could disqualify their child from receiving those essential benefits. And we're going to talk about the amount of assets that they could have in their name. There are other assets they can own outright that don't count towards disqualifying them. And what happens if they do get disqualified? But a lot of families we talk to are worried about making that one mistake. And parents often feel the emotional weight of planning for two lifetimes while also trying to stay present and enjoy everyday life. Our job, Ian and myself and our team, is to help to guide families through the things that need to get done so that you can live a life of without compromise. You can live a life of abundance and not have to worry, knowing that everything is going to be okay. And you want to build a plan that stands the test of time. It's sturdy enough to withstand anything that happens, whether it's in the economy, whether it's with your family, whether it's with just what's going on in the world. You need to have confidence that the plan you have is going to work under any circumstances. You see, believe it or not, if you haven't done any quote unquote planning yet with a professional, or you're a do-it-yourselfer, you have a default plan. It's already in place, right? You've got some financial products. Maybe you have some life insurance through work. Maybe you have some disability insurance. You're putting money in 401k. You have all these financial tools. And if you continue doing what you're doing, there is a predictable future. We know or we can predict the outcome. Now, there's no judgment. It's not good, it's not bad, it just is. But what if there are other strategies that you may not be aware of that could provide a more sturdy plan for you and your family? So why even plan at all? Right? Planning for a loved one with special needs is about maximizing their quality of life while providing the right level of protection. We're a protection first company in the sense that we want to help protect you and your family from all of the different threats to your financial world and to their financial world before we even talking about investing. Traditional typical financial planners focus on the money and the assets, the investments first, and many times they don't even focus on protection. Protection from government benefits, making sure that when the time comes to get those benefits, your child qualifies and doesn't get disqualified. Laura and I were talking a few minutes ago that a lot of families that we talk to, they might have a financial advisor, but they don't address the key issues that we're talking about today. It's very similar to if you went to your general, your doctor, right? Your primary care physician who does everything, and he refers you to a cardiologist because you have an issue with your heart. Well, we're the specialists when it comes to special needs planning, right? We're not necessarily looking to replace who you're currently using, but we want to really focus on making sure that we help you protect what's most important for you and for your family. So here are the planning outcomes that we want to share with you and focus on. The first is create financial stability, turning uncertainty into certainty. Most families we talk to come to us with a world of uncertainty, right? They don't know if their child is going to be okay or not, what life is going to look like when they get older, what's going to happen when they're 30, 40, 50 years old. There's a lot of uncertainty. So the more certainty that we can help create for you, hopefully will take away some of that anxiety and fear when it comes to your family. Knowing versus hoping, making informed, intentional decisions as opposed to living in the default future that you're currently living in right now. The relief of financial anxiety, bring peace of mind today, tomorrow, and beyond. We want to hope for the best, plan for the worst, and anything in between, have a plan that's flexible enough to be able to change and to change with the times. We want to build confidence in the future, creating secure, prepared, certain, assured, and informed plan and make decisions. And most importantly, enjoy your wealth. You work too hard to earn your money. You want to make sure you keep it. And at some point, we want to make sure you enjoy it, enjoy your lifetime without sacrifice, creating a lifestyle of security and confidence. So let's talk about the foundations of planning. The first thing we're going to talk about is the financial side, financial planning, organizing, protecting. We're going to talk about wealth accumulation and distribution, investments, and a term you may or may not have heard of called the ABLE account, which is just a financial tool that you may or may not want in your financial world. As financial professionals, we believe this is where we need to start. Because once we start laying out the plan, when we get to the legal side, we can get you to the attorneys who can help draft and write the special needs trust for you. But the plan that supports those legal documents is just as important as having those documents. We'll talk about government benefits from a high level point of view. And then finally, the coordination of care, bringing it all together and wrapping it up in a bow. So here are the 6 steps to financial organization. Most people's financial world, it's like a junk drawer in the kitchen. We've just acquired stuff. 401ks, life insurance, disability, auto insurance, ABLE accounts, maybe a special needs trust. Most people are so disorganized when it comes to that, that the first thing we want to do is get everything organized and do it in a very simple way, right? Not an exercise that's going to take hours to do and pull a ton of documents, but literally 15 minutes, high level overview. What do you got? With no judgment, right? Nothing's right, nothing's wrong. You are where you are, it just is, and it's awesome. And let's take a look at what you have and then figure out that if you continue doing what you're doing, here's the predictable outcome. And if you're okay with that outcome, then you don't need us, you don't need a financial professional, you just keep doing what you're doing. And for some people, that's fine. But what if there are other strategies, things that you could do in order to create a more sturdy plan for you and your family? Well, the second thing we want to do is we want to protect your family, protect your child or children so that they receive the government benefits they're entitled to receive. We want to protect the most important financial resource we all have, which is our ability to produce income for our families. Income is the fuel for the economic engine that drives our family. And if income stops, whether we get sick or we die, think about the impact that's going to have for you and your family. So we want to focus on protection. And this is where we talk about special needs trusts, first party trust, third party trust, able accounts, the whole thing. Invest academically. There are two schools of investing. There's those people who speculate and gamble with their money and they don't even know it, versus implementing empirically, Nobel Prize empirically tested philosophies when it comes to money. We want to take a look at how you're currently investing and then see if how you're investing aligns with your true purpose for money, which is protecting your family. We want to optimize cash flow. Now, we're not into budgeting because we know budgeting doesn't work. And Ian and I were talking about this on a car ride today. I don't care if you're spending 10 bucks a day at Starbucks because you deserve it. You work hard. But what if we measure the amount of money that's coming into your financial world, the amount of money that's going out, and we make really good choices on what to do with what we call free cash flow? And what if we can help you build structure around your financial world so that you could increase your savings rate? And then you can do a lot of things with it for you and your family. We want to plan for retirement income, and then we want to review and adjust them on a regular basis. So these are the steps that we believe families should implement when it comes to their financial world, whether it's with us or anybody you're currently working with. And I'll share with you, this is what we call the living balance sheet. It's the financial tool that all of our clients get and we work with to start the planning process. When we're done, I'll make sure in our summary email that everybody gets a free link to this site where you could take 15 minutes and start building your own balance sheet. What it will do is give you some clarity to start the process. You don't have to pull any documents. You just need to think about how much. How much life insurance do you have? Do you have wills of special needs trust? What if you get sick and can't work? What if you get sued? All the things that you own, your assets, liabilities, what you owe, and cash flow. Sturdy financial plan revolves around cash flow. And we'll create a financial scorecard for you that you could download yourself and you can have for free. If you hit the submit button at the end, then the data is shared with me and shared with Ian, and then we can have a free strategy session to share with you where you are and where you might want to go. So if you decide to do that and you enter the data and don't hit submit, we never see a thing. But if you want some help, we'll send that link to you. And this is how we start organizing our financial worlds. Clients that we see, families that we work with, when it comes to planning are on these parallel paths. The first path is protection. And I mentioned that we are a protection first company. Protection from if you get sued, if you get sick, if you die, and when you're not here, the estate planning, which ultimately we recommend, ends with a special needs trust. When we take a look at these, what we're concerned is the amount of coverage people have, the type, and where is it owned. But we want to make sure that you have all this because if loss shows up on your balance sheet and to your family, we need to be able to protect it. And at the same time, talk about creating wealth, saving money, investing money, having capital for those long-term and short-term goals, including retirement, including college, including vacations. And in between the two is savings. How much can you save? How much can we help you build structure on cash flow so that as you save over time, you experience the eighth wonder of the world, which is the compound interest curve. And what you'll notice that in the beginning, when you start saving, and we can have a conversation on how we know and can prove that it's not the rate of return you get on your 401k and your investments that's most important. It's actually the amount that you save and the consistency of saving. That if you do this over time, later on in life, you're going to get this hockey stick growth. And this is where most families' wealth is generated. Now, there are a lot of different financial threats that could come into play, including job loss, disability, death, divorce, health, market volatility. There are many others. And so, therefore, this is not guaranteed. We want to make sure that we're on the path to protect, save, and grow wealth at the same time. And the financial threats I mentioned, they act differently depending on where we are in the cycle of our working world. When we're in accumulation phase, what we're doing is we're working and we're turning cash flow into our net worth through savings, through investments. When we decide to quote unquote stop working, maybe retire, maybe still continue to work a little bit, we call that distribution. We're taking the assets that we have on our balance sheet and we're turning them into cash flow for life. And the financial threats act differently depending on where we are in this mountain. So, for example, mortality risk. On the way up, the risk is dying too soon. And we can use financial tools and products called life insurance that if something happens to us, a boatload of money comes into our family the right way, tax free, to replace the economic engine, that fuel that we talked about before. But on the way down, the fear most people have is we don't know how long we're going to live. We're afraid to run out of money. So we need to plan accordingly. What if you get sick and can't work? On the way up, we can protect our income through disability insurance. If somebody gets sick and they can't work, an insurance company can pay you tax free. On the way down, if you get sick and need assisted living, you might need some extra care, you're going to use your assets unless you started planning for long-term care. What about market volatility? On the way up, it's our friend, right? Markets go up and down, but in the long run, they go up. On the way down in distribution, the last thing we want is volatility. We want slow and steady because we can't afford to have those significant drops in the market, especially if we're pulling out money to live on. Tax deferred vehicles like 401ks and pension plans and IRAs, we're told that they're the best vehicle on the way up. But in actuality, on the way down, they're the worst to have. Imagine you get to retirement knowing that you have to take all money out to live on that's fully taxable, including Social Security. Most people I know want to get to retirement and pay as little money as tax as possible. So, how do we plan for that accordingly? And finally, inflation, right? They could tell us all they want that inflation's coming down, inflation's coming down. But if you've been to the supermarket lately, I just came from New York City. I cannot believe people pay $10 for a half gallon of milk. That's why my daughter comes home, shops here, and I have to drive it in.
So you get to pay the $10 for the milk.
Not only that, but I think it costs me more money to pay the tolls and the travel to get it. But my wife likes to spend time with her, so I guess that's priceless, right? Either way, we need to plan for all these. And because your life is probably like all of ours, so overwhelming that we know we need to plan for these things, if you work with a professional who knows this, let them focus on it. So you can focus on what's most important for you, which is your family. And when it comes to investing, 401ks, retirement money, non-retirement money, not all portfolios are created equal. Really want to focus on the engineering of the portfolio, not, hey, I got into this target date fund because I'm going to retire in 2040. Let's hope for the best. We really want to take a look at the academics of how we should be investing and make sure that we stick to the boring philosophies, not the what did Andy say there? Not the sexy strategies that everyone's trying to pitch us.
Right.
Slow, steady philosophies win.
Discipline.
Discipline over time. If you look at endowments of colleges, they have certain rules. It's called an investor policy statement, right? There are rules, guidelines that they stay in when it comes to investing, irrespective of what's happening in the market and what people say, right? And if you stay in those guidelines, just like putting up bumpers when you go bowling, right? You're staying within the lane, you win. But once you start speculating, gambling with your money, and many of us don't even know we're doing it because we hired a professional a financial advisor or the people at our 401k are telling us what to do. But we never really analyzed it. We never looked at the amount of risk that we're taking. And it's really important to do that. Engineering is important. Two buildings San Francisco after an earthquake. Which one would you want to have? Which one would you want to own? One that's engineered sturdily? No. One of them that's engineered
For
properly.
quality,
One of
quality
them is
engineering.
quality engineering. One's not. You get it. Now let's talk about the ABLE account, a term many of you might have heard, some of you may have, some you may not have. The ABLE account was passed into law in the Obama administration in 2014. It's under the Internal Revenue Code of 529. Very similar, or it acts very similar to a 529 for college in the sense that you fund it with after-tax dollars, it grows tax-free, and you can take it out tax-free if it's used for your child's benefits. It's really great when there's money in your child's name and you need to get it out
Hmm.
because they can't have more than $2,000 in their name. Write this down. If they have more than $2,000 in their name, they will get disqualified from government benefits. It's been $2,000 for decades. It's ridiculous, but that's the law. What if you have money in a 529 for your child? What if you have money in their name already? Well, you can open up an Able account, you can move the money in. In a 529 plan, if your child is not going to go to college, you could change the beneficiary to one of your other children. But new tax law allows you to make a tax-free transfer from a 529 plan for college to an Able account. You could put in today 19,000 a year, next year 20,000. If there's more than $100,000 in the account, that could be a trigger in order that would disqualify them from benefits. But here's the kicker. Money in an Able account upon the passing of your child, the primary beneficiary would be the state of New Jersey. If they pay Medicaid benefits for your child, they have the right to get reimbursed from the Able account. If there's any money left over, then it goes to the contingent beneficiaries that you name.
So sometimes able accounts I like to include in the trust section or the legal section because ultimately it's a first party trust or a payback trust. So Michael, Sandra has a question or a statement in the chat. I wonder if you'll address that there.
Sure, go ahead.
So ables have a limit of 100,000 to still receive benefits. That's not a lot. If that's all my son can have in cash in this area, that won't last long.
No, not at
So
all.
what do we do to answer that question?
Well, that's a great question. Again, Able account is just a tool, right? And if used properly, is great. Um, what we would want to look at, and we're going to talk about when we get to the legal section, is what is called a third party special needs trust. Now, a first party special needs trust, which acts very similar to an Able account, has the same idea. If the monies are in your child's name and you move it into what is called a first party special needs trust because the money went through his or her social security number, and let's say your child has $100,000, maybe they want a medical award, right? Maybe grandparents gave them money, gifted to them, outright. Well, we could take the money, you can move it into an Able account, but anything above 100,000 would disqualify them. What we want to start focusing is creating in this case, a first party special needs trust. Any money in the trust, there's no limit to the amount that could be in the trust. Millions can go into the trust, right? And we'll talk about how to get that in a few minutes.
Right. So an able account was never designed to save money into for future living. It was designed for achieving a better life experience, which means allowing your child to work. And if they accumulate assets, then their money can go into an able account. And the idea is to spend their money on their lifestyle. It's never meant for mom and dad or any family members to contribute money to an able account.
Right. So
So if
let's
you're
say,
thinking
sorry.
about opening one, no rush to open one unless you think that your children are going to be able to work.
Yeah.
There are some small benefits around in-kind support to have some money in an able account, but there is no reason to pack it full of cash.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, a lot of families use it when their child or children are working. They're making more money that would disqualify them. They need to get it out of their name as quickly as possible. they'll transfer it to an ABLE account. So before we move on to legal tools and talking about special needs trust, estate planning, guardianship, conservatorship briefly, anybody have any financial planning questions? Ian, anything?
I'd like to say that don't prejudge yourself on whether or not you need a financial guidance. I think that you don't need a big house and a long driveway to have a financial advisor or to somebody give you guidance. If you have questions, reach out and allow us to give you guidance. Not expensive to work with Mike and I, really reasonable. So it's more important to make sure that it all works out right, because if it doesn't, there can be dire consequences. And I have recently spoke with a few moms that had really bad um, situations with actually her brother was a had autism and wound up homeless and in the streets and then got into drugs. And I mean, it just became a really devastating situation. And dad never wanted to talk about it. So how would I put this? The no talk rule should be out the window. We need to talk about it.
And to the person who asked, when is the best time to start? The best time to start is talking about it today. So let's talk about the legal tools. We spoke about them briefly, but the main legal tool is something called a third-party special needs trust. From an estate planning point of view, there are three strategies that families have when it comes to planning. Number one is they leave everything outright to their child or children. And if they leave more than $2,000 in their name, that'll disqualify them from receiving benefits. That's not a great plan. That is typically the default plan that most people have when they come to us. They have wills that name the spouse to receive all the assets, vice versa, and then everything goes outright to the children. So if you haven't done the legal work yet, that's the default future that it's going to look like. And yes, if money goes into your child's name, it can be moved into a first party special needs trust, but it just is adds complexity to their financial world. Secondly, you can disqualify them. You can leave everything to somebody else with the hope that they're going to spend that money for your child. And we all know that hope is not a strategy. That money could be lost, it could be gambled away, susceptible to divorce, so many potential problems. They may not even spend the money on your child. So the answer is the creation of a third-party special needs trust. And all the third-party special needs trust is, it's a document setting forth legally binding instructions concerning your loved one with special needs. It preserves eligibility for SSI and Medicaid. There's no limit to the amount going to the trust. It appoints a lifetime management team for a loved one, takes a village, put together a team. And it directs personal care and advocacy for the loved one with special needs. It is the primary document we all should have. Now, it could be created outright, standalone, with its own EIN number, and it could be funded or unfunded. We believe that it should remain unfunded for many reasons. Number one is that if it becomes funded, it limits the money that's in the special needs trust, what it could be used for. Most families, most parents we talk to, most caregivers are going to support their child or children while they're still alive. And money that goes in the trust, when it grows and it's invested, you're going to have to file a tax return. And you're just adding complexity to a world that's complex as it is. You could also have language in a will to create the special needs trust upon your passing. Spouse leaves everything to the other spouse, vice versa. And upon the passing of the second spouse, that special needs trust is created. So there are two ways to do it, standalone or in the wills. You know, it's funny, people ask us, which one would you prefer? I just want you to have it. I like to see them standalone because this way, if you have family members, grandparents, and uncles who want to gift and leave money to your child, you just have them name the special needs trust. But if it's in the language of the will, it's in the language of the will. And here's how the estate planning would look. This family has three children, sister and brother. They get their 1/3. A third goes into the special needs trust. care is paid for with benefits, and supplemental care from the special needs trust goes or can be used for the child. Now, everyone asks us how much money should go in a special needs trust. And there are financial professionals who actually try to calculate 20, 30, 40 years from now how much money you need. We believe in getting as much money in the trust as possible in the future without compromising your lifestyle today and in the future. And we accomplish that with the use of a product called life insurance. And there are two different types of life insurance. There's term insurance, which is temporary insurance. It's insurance for a specific amount of time and then it ends. And then there's permanent insurance, whole life insurance, which lasts forever. It shows up someday when you're 60, 70, 80, 90 years old, or a combination of both to start. Because term insurance requires the least amount of cash flow, but you don't own anything. Whole life insurance builds cash value and the death benefit grows and it remains permanent. And we got to build it.
Looks
What
like we
was
got
that?
bombed.
What
That's
happened?
good. Nothing. We're good.
You got bombed.
Yeah.
All right. So
Okay.
let me give you an example. Family that we're working with, 64 years old, both of them, about to retire. They have assets, they saved money, they have a child, and the child's 40, right? So when I say child, doesn't need to be young, like, their child's 40. They have another child who's 37 who is in a group home, who needs lifetime care. That's the prognosis. They want to split their estate 50-50. But just because they want to split the estate 50-50 doesn't mean that each asset needs to be split 50-50. So here's what we did. They created a third-party special needs trust for the benefit of their child. They're funding it with life insurance that's going to show up someday in the future, guaranteed. And the premiums to pay the life insurance do not take away from their lifestyle. Oh, I see that. Somebody's erasing. Huh.
Right. Oh, I don't know how to delete
Just leave it.
the people that. Okay.
So it doesn't take away from their lifestyle. So imagine that they can get $1 million at age 64 to fund a special needs trust someday in the future without taking away from their retirement. We did the cash flow family. $1 million goes into the special needs trust for the benefit of their child with autism. The other child is going to get the house worth the same amount of money. House is an illiquid asset. They could choose to keep it. They could choose to sell it. They could choose to live in it. Two different assets. And then they're splitting everything else 50-50 upon the passing of both parents. The key here is that the planning we did is not taking away from the lifestyle of the parents. Because if it did, it wouldn't be right.
Right.
But we're able to do that. And we work with young families to do the exact same thing. So the estate planning and the special needs trust is really important. I talked a little bit about the first party special needs trust used if money's already in your child's name. Specifically, there's a lot of it. It can be moved in here. Same attributes from using the money as a third party special needs trust. Only difference is that the state of New Jersey has the right to get reimbursed from Medicaid upon your child's passing. These are the strategies that I spoke to before are not recommended. Leaving everything outright, doing nothing, right? Making sure you have that special needs trust, even if you don't use it in the future. You could put language in the trust that says, if the trustee feels that my child can handle money, then they could dissolve the trust. Disinheritance doesn't work, and leaving money to siblings outright without protecting it is not the greatest strategy. From a guardianship and conservative point of view, at the age of 18, an individual is presumed to have legal capacity. They can make decisions for themselves, not only financially, but health decisions. I have a client who is an emergency room doctor, Northern New Jersey, who did a webinar for us once talking about what happens when your child goes into um, goes into the emergency room and you don't have guardianship, and what challenges occur when it comes to making those decisions. So if a loved one lacks capacity to manage personal or financial decisions, a court could appoint a guardianship or conservator to take over control of that person's affair. When they're 17 is when you need to start thinking about it. At 17 and a half, that's when you start putting things in motion because it takes time. Before I move on and finish up with government benefits and coordinated care, anything about special needs trust, first party, third party? I can go into chat. Can I go into chat?
You can, but you have to reshare your screen now.
I'll reshare my screen. All right. Got it. Technology. Love it and hate it. All right. Government benefits, high level overview. For the most part, we're talking about means tested public benefits. That includes SSI and Medicaid. SSI is provides income for your child, Social Security, supplemental Social Security income. Medicaid is the golden ticket when it comes to healthcare. When you qualify for SSI, you automatically qualify for Medicaid. I was at a conference last week and a woman told me that her brother inherited some money, got disqualified from benefits, took them a year to get back on, and during that year did not have Medicaid, did not get his $967 per month. That money had to come from their family to pay for it. Really important that you stay on program. Other entitlement benefits include SSDI, Social Security Disability Income. That's money that could be on their work record or your work record, and Medicare, which takes 2 years to qualify, but also is a possibility if somebody is disabled. Other benefits include Section 8 housing, veteran benefits, different waivers. I have a resource in New Jersey who specializes in helping families find the best resources for them, be able to find what they might be entitled to, and also, especially when they're older, help them with creating and financing with the DDD budget so that they could actually, have money for programs. Really important benefits here in New Jersey, and I'll share that with you if you like. Here, the SSI resource test, again, means tested, no more than $2,000 in their name. Exempt resources, things that it could own but don't disqualify them from receiving benefits, include the value of a home, automobile, furniture, clothing, personal items, burial plots, up to $1,500 of whole life insurance, cash value in their name, and other miscellaneous assets. But for the most part, $2,000, that's the limit. We need to talk about getting out of their name, spending it down, moving it to an ABLE account in a special needs trust, and then having conversations with people to say when the holidays come along and their birthday, give the checks to you, give the gifts to you, open up a savings account, an investment account under your name, but you know it's for your child. That's where you put the money. Always keep it out of their name. Social Security disability income and Medicare, really important. Not going to go through the details, but just know that on their work record, they may qualify. I spoke to a 30-year-old woman yesterday, who 30-year-old woman with autism who's worried about her work, and she makes a decent living, but she's disabled and she's going to go on SSDI when she needs to. So she's going to go on her work record. Sometimes people go on their parents. Other benefits include veteran benefits, housing, self-directed care, CNA programs. Here in New Jersey, a handful of other states, you can get compensated by the state of New Jersey with tax-free dollars to be the caregiver for your child if you qualify. I have clients, Ian and I have clients, who the parents had to give up working, not can't go back into the workforce at the level they were in before, and are getting paid to take care of their child. And they're using that money tax-free for the planning that we talked about. And finally, the coordination of care. How do you bring it all together? How do you package it? Well, the first thing you can do is create what is called a letter of intent. You can go out right now, computer, Microsoft Word, piece of paper, yellow pad, and start laying out everything about your child, their likes, their dislikes, movies, vacations, school, education, doctors, everything. Think of it as a playbook so that when you're not here, you can hand the playbook over to somebody else, family member, trustee, caregivers who can who has the responsibility to take care of your child, that they have a lot of this information. And you could just keep adding to it. Doesn't need to be a major project, but you could do that as well. Communicate with family members. Explain to them how important it is that they abide by the planning that you put together. If you're divorced or going through divorce, being on the same page when it comes to planning for your child is extremely important. Parents can hate each other's guts, but I hope that you love your kids and you want to do everything to make sure that they don't get disqualified from those benefits. Some of our clients who are divorced, child support is paid into a special needs trust. It's paid into an ABLE account, a first party special needs trust, so that it never goes into the child's hands, even though it's their money, but it's protected. Things you need to think about if you're going through divorce. Parents, anybody who wants to leave money should be coached on doing it the right way so they don't undo all the good work that you've done. We believe a team-based approach ensures intentional, coordinated plan that addresses both present and future needs. It takes a village. We believe you start with the financial professional, who's the quarterback to all the other relationships. And finally, how do you get started? If you answer no to any of these questions, I highly suggest you schedule some free consultation with me and Ian. Talk about you, talk about your family, and see if we're the right team to help you out. Some of the questions include, do you have a plan to provide for the financial well-being of your family members? Have you consistently or possibly planned for 2 lifetimes, yours and your children's? Did you know that you can create an estate financial plan without compromising your retirement income and lifestyle? Do you have a properly drafted special needs trust in place, standalone, or in the wills as language? And have you explored strategies to fund your special needs trust significantly? If the answer is no to any of these questions, here is a QR code with our schedules. It's a free consultation. It doesn't cost anything. I just discovered that lawyers who consult with clients on special needs planning charge $500 an hour just for the initial introduction and conversation. With us, it's free. Here's a copy of, here's the cover of a book that I just came out with that's going to be published hopefully within the next month, called Planning for 2 Lifetimes, a guide to financial planning for families with children with special needs. So for all of you who joined us today, and for those of you who may be watching the recording, registered, everybody will receive a link to be able to download some great information. Once the book is published, you'll get a link in order to request to download a copy of the book, request a copy of the book physically or 2 copies, just to get this great information out there to you and all your families. So with that, we thank you for your time. It's almost 8 o'clock. We ran a few minutes over due to some technical difficulties, but Ian and I'd be more than happy to stay on and answer some of the questions in the chat and talk to you about it. But we want to thank you for your time. Hopefully we covered some of the topics that you were looking to discover today. And thank you. Oh,
Thank
Ian,
you.
take this. One sec.
Ian,
Excuse me one sec.
okay. So thank you so much to both
no.
Michael and Ian for this informative night. So sorry about the technical issues. I think I figured out who the problem was and booted him out. And we will, of course, edit this presentation before we post it anywhere. I love what you said, Ian, about, the no talk rule should be out the window. I think that all of us have to be comfortable talking about money and talking about
Yeah.
the future. And that's something, especially as special needs parents, we have to get over that hump. We have to really think about it.
So,
Um, um, I'm of an age where I could start, if there's that pyramid, looking at that pyramid, I'm at the very top there, and I can still start to be saving, even doing extra saving for our retirement in a 401k plan. Is there any danger to put money in a 401k if I have a child with special needs? Is there, what if we pass away? Is that money going to be able to go to my son with disabilities safely? Is that going to cause problems for him?
the well, of course, when you have money in a 401k, you need to always be aware of the beneficiaries. So if you're leaving it directly to your child and you haven't set up your beneficiaries in the 401k to be left to a trust, then yeah, that would be an issue. So there needs to be a balance between 401k and, quite honestly, whole life insurance so that we can create gobs and gobs of money tax free and deliver it to a trust. When you have 401k money that gets delivered to a trust, it could very well be fully distributed from the qualified account, which will create a significant tax problem. So it could inadvertently throw you into a really high tax bracket, especially in a trust, because trust tax brackets are condensed, really condensed, not like your income tax bracket. So we need to be very careful of that and make sure that we have um, the right outcome or the outcome that we want in view, right? So if that's the outcome you want, then okay, great. But if that's not the outcome that you want, we need to make sure that we're achieving the outcome that you want. So when Mike and I look at it, it's like, okay, my 30-year-old, 40-year-old, 50, 60-year-old self needs to be looking at my 75, 80-year-old self and
Right.
saying, okay, what decisions am I going to make when I'm 75, 65, 50 that will be affecting us later in life? And some of those decisions are pretty significant, and we need to make sure we get them right now, because when you're 85, or there's no shot in fixing it. So this is where time and money become very closely related.
So would you recommend a balance between saving for yourself with like the 401k plan and then putting money in this permanent in the insurance policies?
Yeah. So again, Mike and I like to say all the time that it's not about the financial products, it's about the strategy. So what's your strategy? And then we help decide where we should be putting money. So for to just a blanket say we got to put money here and put money there, it's really hard to do. Um, and financial products are not inherently good or bad. It's just whether or not they're going to accomplish the outcome that we're looking for.
Right.
So when we dig into it, then Mike and I make recommendations on how we should be distributing our money. I like to call that the financial balance beam. So, again, just another um, term we use to help describe what we're trying to, accomplish for the outcome. One of the first slides was knowing versus hoping, right? We want to know what the outcome is. We don't want to hope for an outcome.
Right.
So purposefully, we set this presentation up to do the financial part first, because typically it's the last thing people are talking about. They'll go get the trust, they'll
Mm,
go get everything else but the financial plan. So you go to the attorney, get this $5,000 piece of paper, it's nice and beautiful and the whole thing, but it's just an architectural plan. Mike and I are the engineers that make that plan come alive.
right. Right.
Yeah, so it takes a village, like Mike was saying.
It takes a village. Yeah, I mean, my husband works for a bank, and so we have to use their financial advisor first. And I asked him these sort of questions. He didn't know, and he said, "This is beyond my pay grade." I mean,
Yeah.
because there's all sorts of, things we need to know in the special needs world that is just, it's relevant to us only.
We are the heart surgeons in this area.
Yeah. Are there particular states that it's better to retire in if you've got a child with special needs? Is like New Jersey a better place for it than, let's say, Delaware, for example, or is it all about the same?
So Mike has shared some stories about some relatives that have moved from California to Arizona, California, then New Jersey, some in Florida. So it really will depend on what your child needs and the benefits that the state has. I would research that first. And then, of course, there's, state income tax or not state income tax. So, some people want to retire in Florida because there's no state income tax, right? Or
Mhm.
Tennessee might have great tax stuff, but their special needs programs may be far and few between. New Jersey has excellent special needs programs. However, the property taxes here are higher.
Yeah,
So, there's a little give and take, but it really depends on what your family needs. So we work on that. Some people just want to be in the warm, so they're moving,
right,
no
right.
matter what. So yeah, that's a so Mike and I do a lot more than just financial. We do a lot of uh shooting the breeze,
Yeah.
to help you, talk it out.
Not just
So
saving, it's achieving the dreams for what you want to be doing when you're retired
yeah,
too, right?
exactly. Yeah, there's no one plan that fits everybody at all. However, the foundation is similar, and the foundation needs to be done right. So this is where it becomes: do we choose which life insurance company do we choose? Which investment strategy are we choosing? How are we saving it? Are we putting in an ABLE, first party trust, third party trust? Right. So all of these things start to come together, and it's about being able to recognize the strategy instead
Hmm.
of just having, like Mike said, a financial junk drawer. One mom said to us, it's like Jenga. I build this whole thing up, and then somebody comes along and pulls out one block that they didn't know that they were going to pull out, and the whole thing falls down.
Right, right.
So, we want to make sure that it's sturdy yet flexible. Your strategy is sturdy yet flexible.
Is there an age of that your child should be when you start thinking about this? Is there, a magic age that, parents should start, thinking about the future or
Just like Mike said, plant the oak tree as soon as possible.
okay.
So it's kind of like, how do you eat an elephant, right? One bite at a time. It's the same kind of thing. I like to use the Miss Pac-Man analogy, one little dot at a time until you clear the board.
So Sandra just asked if it, if the money paid out of a Roth to a beneficiary is taxed, and Mike said Roth is not taxed. So is it better to put your money in a Roth versus a 401k?
So ideally, yes. However, if you're a 401k participant, there's a limitation on how much you can contribute to an IRA. And then there is an income limit to which you can participate with a Roth. So
Okay.
you could actually income out. So then
Okay.
it becomes, okay, where do we find the most tax efficient place to put money?
Right.
And that place then falls back to life insurance. And
Right.
I think that we see life insurance as a death benefit, where it really can be much, much more than that. It's not just about living, it's not just about dying too soon, it's also about living too long. And long-term care can also be incorporated into your life insurance. So it becomes, okay, not only you're a special needs expert, but we're also a life insurance expert and an investment expert to make sure that it all fits together. I was using chat the other day and I put in, oh, special needs CFP. What does that mean? Just this whole long dissertation about why that's, super important. So I find that don't just randomly choose anybody. And if you're required to use a financial advisor, great. But I would also ask for a second opinion.
Great. So, living too long, that's crazy that that's a problem that we have to think about.
That's the problem we have to think about.
So, what do we start smoking at like 70 then or something?
Yes.
That could
So
be my strategy.
right. And if you're a primary caregiver and you're living together with your child and you pass away,
Right.
then what? Like,
Right.
what's the living going to look like after that?
Right.
And that can be, that becomes like, just like when we started out tonight, that's a huge question.
All right, guys. Well, I really appreciate your time and I really appreciate your patience with our technical issues, which will be edited out for a G-rated audience. And thank you everyone for joining us tonight. And thank you for Michael and Ian for really, providing us with so much insight. Every time I mean, I've heard your talk before, Mike, and whenever I hear you, I learn something new. So I really appreciate it. And so thank you all for joining us tonight. Oh, let me just actually I have to just come back to 1 second. We have at the Cope Center for Autism, we're located in Ridgewood, New Jersey. We are running 2 more webinars coming up. We've got one on social skills, and then February 11th, we have one on IEPs. We also have a fabulous after school space for teens and with all sorts of great things going on, winter camp breaks, there's yoga and coding. And if you are in the vicinity of Ridgewood, please check out everything that we have going on there. I want to thank Mike and Ian. We will be sending to all of you more information about where you can reach out to them and to get access to our videos. And give us a call at the Cope Center if you've got any ways that that you want to help, that we can help you. So have a great evening, everybody. Thanks again, Mike and Ian, and hope to work with you guys again soon.
Sounds good. Thank you, Laura.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye bye.